I'm Lynn Davison, your adulting coach.
Hey, it's me, Seth Perler, with SethPerler.com, TEFOS, the Executive Function Online Summit. I do executive function stuff.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here, Seth, because I have learned so much from you and know that my parents can definitely benefit from what you know, and especially from the 23, is it, presenters at TEFOS 2021?
Yeah, we actually have in the all access pass, we have, I don't know how many, 10 or more like previous experts that
Yes.
did like these little nugget tips for parents that are ridiculous. They're so good.
Yes. And I love little nuggets because that's what we can hear these days. You know, I think we all have an attention span. It's just, you know, there's too much information. So we have to make a decision about what we're going to consume. And this is the thing that we're going to consume now. Please take Kiki. Please take her. Go.
Yeah, this is a big nugget, though. So as far as this weekend, TEFOS, the Executive Function Online Summit, it's Friday, August 20th right now, and we started this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 24 hours. We have 7 or 8 speakers today, and that is a big nugget. It is a big chunk. This is intended to be an immersion weekend. So the nugget is like a whole weekend, but you walk away with it. Your mind's blown, and you're absolutely overwhelmed, but you are in a different place. You see the world and your child and how you connect and communicate and serve your child differently after that sort of an immersion. So it's a big chunk. It's a big nugget full of a bunch of small ones, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I highly recommend you get the all access pass, which I have done now for 3 years. And the second year, what I did was I went back and I watched every single one of them twice.
That's how to do it.
And then I took notes on each one. And this year I plan on doing exactly the same thing. But I have learned from Gretchen Wegner that we have to restate what we're learning in our own words. So I'm going to create a cheat sheet for me and my parents that has exactly what they need to pay attention to based on each one of those speakers.
Good.
It's such good stuff.
And when we go through something different, like a book that you're reading or anything, it's like you when you go through it a second time, there are things that you didn't notice the first time. That it's like we learn stuff about our kids or about life or whatever, and sometimes we have to learn things over and over and over, and then it starts to gel. That could be the same with, like, I play guitar, like learning a new song on guitar.
Absolutely.
I've been learning You've Got a Friend in Me. It's got a really complicated chord structure, and it's like been weeks that I've been working on it. It's finally gelling. Or it could be like executive function stuff, or it could be our kiddos learning how to write cursive or how to do a multiplication algorithm or anything.
Yep. And most of my young adults are in their 20s. Oh, there he went. In their 20s. So what they're facing is a life without as much structure as they were accustomed to in school. And now they have to create their own structure.
Right.
And the tried and true graduate from high school, graduate from college, get a job, get married, buy a house might be in there too, and get married. That formula just doesn't work. It just that developmental timeline just isn't appropriate. So what we need to do is do it at our own pace, but it's harder when you have to structure it for yourself.
Let's dive into that real quick, because I think that's a real great thing that we could share some concrete stuff for all of you watching right now that could be really helpful to you. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, sounds good. Yes.
So I love that topic because I hear it all the time. And even if you have younger kids, this is a great topic to dive into. Yeah. And here's why. Because your younger kids are going to become older kids. So if you have a kindergartner, they're going to become a first grader, a middle schooler, a high schooler. If they choose to go to college, and then they will have some sort of job or career and such moving forward. So what we're looking for, if we want to zoom out and really get focused, what I really like to think, zoom out and get focused, it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it does. Zoom out and get focused on what's the big picture, what's the important thing we're doing here. So what we all want is we want our kids to be happy and successful and healthy. We want them to have a good life now and a good future. And executive function is the thing that can really get in the way of them being able to build that future. So what you're talking about is the transition from high school to college specifically, but it is the same. So for all ages, all parents here, we're looking at transitions. When they transition from kindergarten to first grade, when they transition during this wacky year where we had a complete bizarre year last year, and we probably will again this year, and they transition from a disruption in the entire world to everybody's schedules and how school works and stuff to a new year. How do they make that transition? How do they transition from elementary to middle, middle to high school to college, college to career? How do we make these transitions? So to get it really now, to zoom in, when we make these transitions, kids who make the transitions relatively smoothly usually have pretty good executive function, which means that their ability to focus or concentrate or pay attention or prioritize the important things over the fun things when it matters, or to manage time or get organized, all of these things that are necessary to have a smooth transition, they do fairly well. But for the kids who struggle with that stuff, with this thing called executive function that takes place in the front part of the brain as it's still developing, we can often misunderstand them and use shame or punishments or rewards or promise of rewards or threats or arguing or nagging or bugging or lecturing or reasoning or logic or all these things to try to motivate them to do the things we think they're supposed to be doing. And those can be short-term fixes, but they are not addressing the issues, which is that in order for them to have better executive function, they really need compassionate, empathetic, kind, patient, and intentional guidance in terms of how to build the executive functions skills. These are skill sets for planning or time management or organization or this or that or the other. And that's what this summit is all about. And these skills can sometimes be concrete, like how to use a calendar or a planner and how to get over your own resistance to using them. Or they can be more abstract for like how to deal with emotions, emotional regulation, and shame that we might feel, or anxieties we might feel, or overwhelm, or things like this. So I think I just wanted to sort of break down. You had thrown out that comment about that transition. I just wanted to sort of pull that apart and give it back to you so that you can have a picture of it under that umbrella of executive function and maybe see it in a way that serves people more clearly.
Yes, and as the parents of the adult child, what we're trying to teach them, especially in that last part, that self-regulation piece, are the metacognition skills that they need to really recognize that, their thoughts are going to flavor their emotions, and their emotions then are going to flavor their actions. And that thoughts, emotions, and actions is, what you're drinking is what you're going to create. So we want to get more aware of that. And the tool that I think is really helpful is to start writing some of those things down. The researchers suggest that we have between 1,200 and 70,000 thoughts in any given day. Who knows what the number is, but it really does help if we start to get them out of our brain and in an external recording. And then we can start looking at them, and saying, is this serving me, or is it helping me, or is it hurting me? And then we can go from there. And that in and of itself makes a huge difference. The other thing that makes a huge difference is to externalize a system, a framework for what they want out of life. I had to teach this to myself. And then when I taught it to my autistic young adults, it really helps, because it helps you look at each part of your life. And we call it the healthy, wealthy, wise GPS. We look at each aspect of our life and decide what we want in it, what we've already created, and then what we want next. And I'm telling you, taking that stuff out of your brain, which is just that ticker tape of thoughts that goes by you all the time, and getting it down, recording it. And my favorite way is to record it to a place where you can actually access it on your phone. Helps you focus back to your, what's the big picture of my life? Okay, then how does this little micro thing that I'm going to do next fit in? And, that does make sense that I focus on this. So now with my thoughts in line and my dreams in line, then my actions will follow.
Excellent. Yeah, one of the biggest problems with some of these executive function challenges, well, first of all, is the resistance to even making the list of those things to even,
Oh yeah.
so working with that, but is also the abstract versus the concrete. And like you said, the
Mhm.
ticker tape in the brain, the clouds are flying by in the brain all day long. I'm probably one of those
Oh
people that has closer to 70,000 thoughts. I struggle with this stuff all my life. It doesn't stop. But if I want
yeah.
to accomplish my goals that matter, I have to have a way of getting it out of my brain and taking it from the abstract and making it concrete. I use something
Mhm.
called Google Keep on my phone and my desktop all the
Mhm.
time, but I have a lot of
Mhm.
methods of
Mhm.
recording, and I do teach my students to do this as well. It doesn't matter if it's a bullet journal, a vision board, pad of paper, pictures that you put up on the wall, images, drawings, notes, documents. It doesn't matter, but it has to get whoosh out of here,
Has
or
to.
else in that I talk about manifestation and manifesting. Like I use like where I'll sort of manifest things in my life, but on a very concrete level, that is very much what that
Mhm.
is me
Mhm.
writing out goals and intentions, and that's helping me to plan. So it's not like I magically manifest things in my life and it's just like woo. It's
Yeah.
like, even though I do like woo stuff in some ways, but and I do find serendipitous things happen when I
Mhm.
write or draw or make vision boards or whatever. But I do find very magical serendipitous things happen. But it doesn't matter if you believe in any of that or not. The act of making things concrete in some way, shape, or form helps these kids to do a big part of executive function, which is planning. You don't call it planning, but it is planning, the envisioning, the thinking
Mhm.
it through, the talking it through, the writing it out. We're starting to manifest a plan that then can be executed upon to accomplish the goal. So that's
Exactly.
probably
And,
it.
and I loved how you used the word planning, because it's not a plan that sits over there in the corner or on the shelf or wherever that never changes. If you have a structure where you put down exactly what you want and it's electronics, so it can shift anytime you have new information or a
Mhm.
new insight or a new interest. In fact, if you take all of those elements of your life and you follow what you're interested in, takes care of all your motivation,
Right.
because all of a sudden the reason to do, you expect you can do it and you're very interested in, and you're not so distracted by it, and you know that you can, bite it off in little chunky nuggets. Back to the procrastination equation that Sarah Ward introduced us to in 2020. She
Hmm.
was so good, from Pure Steel. Just to look at that, 4 words. How did that man distill all about motivation in 4 words? I would not have known about that if it hadn't been for TEFOS.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, and this is a thing that, I am literally, it's Friday, we're full flow. I've manifested, planned, created this thing,
Mhm.
and it's hard. And so yeah, but it's something I'm interested in and that matters to me. But
Mhm.
then we run up against that there are parts of this process, and this is just a great example, running the summit, that even though I wanted to do it, I don't like. So how do
No.
we do the things that need to be done even when we don't feel like it? How do I work with the resistance
Mhm.
to deal with like tech issues or things that
Mhm.
I don't care about tech issues. I don't care to, about certain things with that, but it's such a big project that there are pieces I have to figure out how to manage, and I'm willing to do that, and I have motivation to do that because this matters to me, but I still have to fight with myself
Mhm.
to do those things. But having these tools that all these
Yeah.
people, these speakers and experts are talking about, is what gets me or any of us who struggle with this stuff to the point where we can do it well enough. Not perfect, but well
No.
enough.
Oh, we'll never get to perfect. And that's what I love about having a structure. And again, one that's fluid, but it's like a building, like the tall buildings, they can't be absolutely rigid.
Mhm.
They have to bend in the wind. And that's what this structure will give you, is a way to look at things and track how you're progressing on them and keep focusing on the things that are really interesting to you. That's how you find your passion.
Yeah. My first one that I don't know if you saw the first one today or not, but it's about the roadmap and sort of how we can break down that process of change for helping kids. But all
Can't
right,
wait to see
should we
it.
wrap up around here?
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
I'm gonna go
So I
execute more on my piling up to-do list. We are on a live summit today, so there are We have about 60,000 people registered as of now. So families from all over the world who are on our summit. So you can click the link that Lynn puts here somewhere. I don't know.
It's down in the
I
bottom.
can't see where the screen that she's looking at, but and join us. We'd love to have you, and join us in the Facebook chat or whatever. But either way, just dive into as much as you can. It's overwhelming, but just dive into what you can. And
so even though it's overwhelming, know you can get the recordings, and then you can pace yourself. As I did last year, I said, I'm going to do one a week. And that's what I did. And I got through all of them. And I'm so glad I did, because I know I'm a better parent and a better coach as a result.
Awesome. And I love your glasses as a side.
Thank you.
They're super cool.
Thank you so much. Yes. Well, enjoy Hawaii.
Happen to go with my colors on my side.
Yeah, the purple. Yeah. So, oh, please enjoy Hawaii. We'll be there. We're thinking about going there next year.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. Can't wait.
All right.
All righty. Sounds good.
Have a great
Bye for
day,
now.
everybody.